the USS Nimitz Tic-Tac encounter. On the 14th of November 2004, the USS Nimitz carrier group was conducting training exercises off the coast of San Diego, California. For several days, the ship's advanced radar systems had been tracking mysterious objects in the sky. The objects appeared at high altitudes, dropped to just above the ocean surface in seconds, and then shot back up again. These movements were far beyond what any known aircraft could do. Navy commanders decided it was time to investigate and sent 2 FA-18 fighter jets to intercept. Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich were the pilots chosen for the mission. As they flew toward the coordinates, Fravor noticed something unusual on the ocean surface below. A large area of water was churning and frothing, as if something massive was just beneath the surface. Then he saw it, a white, smooth object shaped like a tic-tac candy, hovering just above the water. The object had no wings, no engines, no exhaust, and no visible means of propulsion. It was about 40 feet long and moved in ways that defied everything Fravor knew about flight. When Fravor descended toward the object, it seemed to react to his presence. The tic-tac began mirroring his movements, rising as he came down toward it. Fravor attempted to circle the object and cut it off, but the tic-tac accelerated instantly. In less than 2 seconds, it crossed a distance that would take a fighter jet much longer to cover. It vanished from sight only to reappear moments later on radar 60 miles away. No known aircraft on Earth could travel that fast. Another pilot managed to lock onto the object with an infrared camera and captured video footage. The footage showed the tic-tac moving smoothly through the air with no heat signature from any engine. The pilots returned to the carrier shaken by what they had experienced. For years, the encounter was kept classified by the Navy, but in 2017, the Pentagon officially released the footage to the public. It was one of the first times the United States government admitted that military pilots had encountered something they could not explain. Commander Fravor spoke publicly about the event and stood firmly by his account. He said the object was not from any country on Earth and represented technology far beyond our own. The USS Nimitz Tic-Tac encounter changed the way the world talks about UFOs. The USO encounter at Puerto Rico Trench. In 1988, a United States Navy vessel was operating in the deep waters near Puerto Rico. The area is home to the Puerto Rico Trench, the deepest part of the entire Atlantic Ocean. During a routine patrol, the ship's sonar operators detected something unusual beneath the surface. A massive underwater object was moving through the deep ocean at an unbelievable speed. It was traveling at over 400 knots, which is roughly 460 miles per hour. The fastest known submarines can barely reach 40 knots, making this object 10 times faster. The sonar crew watched in disbelief as the object performed sharp turns and sudden direction changes. No known submarine could survive the forces created by those kinds of maneuvers. The object seemed to move freely through the water, as if the pressure and resistance meant nothing to it. The crew tracked it for an extended period, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. Officers attempted to identify the object using all available databases and records. It did not match any known submarine from any country in the world. Then the situation became even more extraordinary. The object began rising rapidly from the deep ocean toward the surface. Crew members on the deck of the ship watched as the water began to churn and bubble violently. Suddenly, a massive object burst out of the ocean and launched into the sky. Water sprayed in every direction as the craft shot upward at tremendous speed. Multiple sailors standing on deck witnessed the object leave the water and fly away. It climbed higher and higher until it disappeared from view entirely. The crew was left stunned, standing in silence on the deck. What they had just seen was impossible by every law of physics they understood. An object that moved faster than any submarine had just flown out of the ocean and into the sky. The Navy filed a report on the incident, but it was quickly classified. Details of the encounter only became public years later through military researchers and investigators. The Puerto Rico Trench encounter is one of the most dramatic underwater UFO cases ever recorded. The SS Andrew Doria UFO, Gulf of Mexico. In 1951, the merchant ship SS Andrew Doria was sailing through the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. It was a calm night and the crew was going about their normal duties on board. Then, one of the sailors noticed something strange happening on the surface of the ocean. The water ahead of the ship began to glow with an eerie light from below. At first, the crew thought it might be bioluminescence, the natural glow sometimes seen in tropical waters. But this light was far brighter and more intense than anything natural. As they watched, a massive glowing disc began to rise slowly out of the water. The object was enormous, far larger than any aircraft the sailors had ever seen. It lifted itself out of the ocean with a smooth, steady motion, as if gravity didn't affect it. Water poured off the surface of the disc as it rose higher into the air. The crew could see the water stream streaming and cascading off the craft like a waterfall. The disc hovered in the air above the ocean for a brief moment. It glowed with a bright, steady light that illuminated the water below. The entire crew on deck stood frozen, staring at the incredible sight. No one spoke as the object hung silently in the air above the Gulf. Then, without any sound or warning, the disc shot straight up into the night sky. It accelerated at a speed that seemed impossible, vanishing into the stars within seconds. The sailors were left shaking and speechless on the deck of their ship. When the ship reached port, the crew reported what they had seen to their superiors. Multiple crew members agreed to sign sworn statements describing the encounter. These were experienced sailors who had spent years at sea and knew what belonged in the water and the sky. Their statements all matched perfectly, describing the same object, the same movements, and the same blinding speed. Despite the sworn testimony, the case received little attention from authorities at the time. It was filed away and largely forgotten for decades. But researchers later rediscovered the case and recognized its importance. The SS Andrew Doria sighting remains one of the most compelling accounts of a UFO emerging from the ocean. The submarine USS Hampton encounter. In 1997, the United States Navy submarine USS Hampton was operating deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. The submarine was on a classified mission, patrolling the vast, dark waters far from any shore. During the patrol, the sonar operators detected an unusual contact on their screens. An unidentified object was moving through the water at a speed that made no sense. It was traveling far faster than any known submarine or underwater vehicle could possibly move. The sonar team tracked the object closely, trying to identify what it was. It did not match the acoustic signature of any submarine from any country in the world. The object was completely silent, with no engine noise or propeller sounds at all. Then the object did something truly terrifying. It began to circle the USS Hampton. The unknown craft moved around the submarine in wide loops, as if studying it. The crew could feel the tension building inside the cramped submarine. They were deep underwater, with no way to surface quickly if something went wrong. The object circled them multiple times, always maintaining the same impossible speed. Officers on board had no idea what they were dealing with. They had trained for encounters with enemy submarines, but this was something completely different. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the object changed course. It dove straight down, heading deeper into the ocean at incredible speed. The sonar operators watched the contact descend to depths far beyond what any known vessel could survive. The crushing pressure at those depths would destroy even the strongest military submarines. But this object kept going, diving deeper and deeper until it disappeared from sonar completely. The crew was left in stunned silence, unable to explain what had just happened. When the USS Hampton returned to port, the crew filed a report on the encounter. The report was immediately classified by the Navy. Details of the incident only surfaced years later when military documents were leaked to researchers. The USS Hampton encounter is one of the most chilling underwater UFO cases ever reported.